Very good evening. You're watching Primetime News here on TV1, coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. For the Newsfirst team, I am Nuhaza Irfan. Before we move on any further, let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
Fuel quota for vehicles increased with effect from midnight. Litro and Laughs reduce prices of LP gas. Central Bank maintains policy interest rates at current levels. Organised program was afoot to destabilize the country during the Gotabaya administration, reveals Namal Rajpaksa. Is Ranil Wickremesinghe the next SLPP presidential candidate? What happened to the anticipated crossovers?
Now on to your top story this evening. The Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka decided to maintain the standing deposit facility rate and the standing lending facility rate of the central bank at their current levels.
We are here at the press conference held on the monetary policy review, where the governor explained that the interest rates will be constant heading into the next few months, and also explained that there will be disinflation continuously for the next 2 to 3 months and the midterm coming ahead, where they expected for the rupee to keep appreciating.
Having considered the recent and expected economic developments and macroeconomic projections on domestic and global fronts, the Monetary Board of Central Bank of Sri Lanka viewed that the maintenance of the prevailing tight monetary policy stance is necessary to ensure that monetary conditions remain sufficiently tight to facilitate the continuation of the ongoing disinflation process. Accordingly, headline inflation is projected to reach single-digit levels by end of 2023 and stabilize at desired levels thereafter over the medium term.
ඔය ණය සම්බන්ධයෙන් පොඩි ගැටලුවක් තියෙනවා මේ ණය ලබා ගැනීමත් එක්ක සමහර ඇමතිවරු කියනවා මේක මේ පාවිච්චි කරනවා මේ ඒ කියන්නේ මේ රජයේ සේවකයන්ට ගෙවන්නේ එහෙම නැත්නම් සමහර ඔය ඉන්දියන් ණය ගෙවන්න කියලා මේක මේ බලපෑමක් විය හැකි නේද ඉස්සරහට
The funds provided by the International Monetary Fund are for the budget support. It means the government can use the funds for their priorities. There is no condition on how the funds are used. A portion can be used to service debt or for the daily expenses of the government. The Treasury can decide on the usage based on the government's priority. I don't see an issue in that.
දේශීය ණය ප්‍රතිව්‍යුහගත කිරීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් මොකද්ද මේ තත්ත්වය සහ ඒක මේ ෆයිනලයිස් කරන්න කවදේ parameters?
We hope to finalize it soon. We have already made an announcement on the T-bills. We are looking at optimization. The central bank will look at its part and not the rest.
When it comes to the behavior of the rupee and its appreciation as of late and in the following recent months, it seems more towards that this is a mid-term appreciation. What about the long-term effect of the rupee? Is there any potential stance that the rupee might go back to depreciating, or will this appreciation continue more towards a long-term stance than just mid-term?
The rupee, the exchange rate policy would be the rupee value of the exchange rate. Exchange rate would be determined on a market-based exchange rate system depending on demand and supply. So it's up to the market. And this is why we have seen moving basically sometimes appreciating, sometimes depreciating. So this is what we wanted to come back to, a situation where market determined exchange rate system we wanted to establish on a gradual basis. Now we are gradually developing the market, and market is also getting used to this kind of a market determined exchange rate.
What kind of sweetness or incentives will be offered to those who volunteer to restructure their bonds?
That's too early to discuss. If it is offered, then people will know what to be offered in voluntary basis.
What sort of progress have we made in restructuring bilateral debt to individual creditors?
So the progress is, as you know, bilateral. For the IMF program, we got the financing assurances, and then we made the presentation to all the bilateral commercial public presentation. On that basis, we continue to have engagement going forward with parallelly both with commercial creditors as well as bilateral creditors on the basis of if you can remember the timelines, what are we going to discuss, what are the data, all these things were discussed. So we will move in that direction, the way that we presented in that presentation.
Now in one of your headline-making stories, the existing fuel quota has been increased for the New Year festive season and will come into effect from midnight today.
The fuel quota has been increased to 8 litres for three-wheelers and 7 litres for motorcycles. The fuel quota for buses was increased from 40 litres to 60 litres. The fuel quota for cars was increased to 30 litres and the fuel quota for land vehicles was increased to 25 litres. The fuel quota for lorries was increased to 75 litres while the fuel quota for vans and special purpose vehicles was increased to 30 litres.
Litro Gas and Lavs Gas reduced the prices of domestic LP gas cylinders with effect from midnight.
Litro Gas announced that the price of a 12.5 kilogram LP gas cylinder will be reduced by 1,005 rupees with effect from midnight today. The new price of a 12.5 kilogram LP gas cylinder will be 3,738 rupees. In addition, a 5 kilogram LP gas cylinder will be reduced by 402 rupees and the new price will be 1,502 rupees. A 2.3 kilogram LP gas cylinder will be reduced by 183 rupees and the new price will be 700 rupees.
The drop in global gas prices, the appreciation of the rupee and the formula introduced to Litro by the Finance Ministry attributed to the price revision and thus awarding benefits to the consumers. We hope that the prices can further be reduced in the future. As long as I am in charge, Litro will not make losses. We do not operate in that manner.
Lavs Gas has also decided to reduce the prices of its domestic gas cylinders with effect from midnight today. A 12.5 kilogram cylinder will be reduced by 1,290 rupees and the new price will be 3,990 rupees. A 5 kilogram cylinder will be reduced by 516 rupees and the new price will be 1,596 rupees. Before the 2019 presidential election, the price of a Litro 12.5 kilogram LP gas cylinder was 1,493 rupees. However, following the introduction of a flexible exchange rate due to the economic crisis that arose, the price of a Litro 12.5 kilogram LP gas cylinder increased to 5,175 rupees on the 22nd of April 2022. From tonight, the same Litro 12.5 kilogram LP gas cylinder will be sold for 3,738 rupees.
SLPP MP and former Minister Namal Rajapaksa says that an organised program was in operation to destabilise the country during Gotabaya Rajapaksa's administration.
Everyone was wondering as to why Gotabaya Rajapaksa never attacked this group and sent them away. Now, ever since Ranil Wickremesinghe took over, all he did was attack. If you go now to Mirihana, you will be attacked. However, Gotabaya Rajapaksa tried to handle this democratically to a certain extent. He is not as experienced as Mahinda Rajapaksa when it comes to politics, so he thought those children were innocent and refrained from attacking them. In the end, the struggle intensified and he was forced to leave the country. Politicians too came in between this. They took hold of certain segments. Everyone who represented the Eco Aragalaya is affiliated with some political party now. Only Gotabaya Rajapaksa is left without a party now. This was a plan to destroy the country's economy. They destroyed the tourism sector. From the fuel distribution to gas, they created queues. The former ministers came in front of the media and said that there will be a queue tomorrow and the fuel will run out. So please join the queue. They said it using their language. Aragalaya was not something that the next generation created at Gaulface. They were just pawns. But the ultimate goal of this was to destabilize the country, and the same is happening today.
SLPP MP Rohit Abegunawardena commented on the suppression of protests.
There are some issues I think the government will respond. We have water and tear gas. We cannot play this game all the time. If they keep engaging with the police office, there will be no law. Therefore, there is plenty of water in the rivers and Beira Lake. We will use the water after we use tear gas. When tears roll down, we will fire water.
Minister Kanchana Wijesekara said that it was proposed to put forward President Ranil Wickremesinghe as the SLPP's next presidential candidate. What is the position of the SLPP on this? Is Minister Kanchana telling the truth?
අමාත්‍යවරයා කියලා තියෙන දේ ඇත්තද?
විශේෂයෙන්ම අමාත්‍යවරයෙකුට මන්ත්‍රීවරයෙකුට
A minister and MP has the right to express their views. However, we as the SLPP must discuss with our leader, the 5th Executive President Mahinda Rajapaksa and the National Organizer Basil Rajapaksa, along with other SLPP seniors.
බැසිල් රාජපක්ෂ මහත්මයා ඇතුළු අපි පක්ෂයේ ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨ නායකයෝ සහ පක්ෂයේ අනිකුත් අයත් එක්ක අපි මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් සාකච්ඡා කරන්න ඕන.
ඔබතුමා කැමතිද මේ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ වත්මන් ජනාධිපතිතුමා ඊළඟ ජනාධිපති අපේක්ෂකයා වෙනවට?
Rohit Abegunawardena always stood by the position of the SLPP than his own position.
Bandula Gunawardena, who was elected to parliament from the SLPP, had this to say about the next presidential candidate.
Since the president's program is very commendable, the group of MPs of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna suggests that the president is suitable to contest the next presidential election. Have you ever had such a conversation to appoint Ranil Wickremesinghe as the SLPP candidate for a presidential election?
දේශපාලන පක්ෂයේ විසින් යෝජනාවක් විදියට එවන්නම් මෙතෙක් සංගත.
The SLPP as a political party has not adopted such a proposal so far. But as those who are loyal to the SLPP and to the country, we all consider that the main challenging task is to rebuild the nation and the country. Ranil Wickremesinghe has won the respect of the country through his working methods as a leader who has the strength to do that work honestly and bravely.
ගෞරවයක් දිනාගෙන තියෙනවා මන්ත්‍රී කණ්ඩායමේ.
අපිට බලාපොරොත්තු විය හැකිද එතුමා නැවත වරක් ජනාධිපතිවරයා ලෙස පොහොට්ටුවේ අපේක්ෂකයෙක් විදියට පත් වෙයි කියලා?
My opinion is that there is nothing wrong in having good hope for something that will be good for the country.
මගේ අදහස.
While comments on the next presidential candidate continue to make rounds, more comments are being made with regard to potential political crossovers.
In a few days, Sajith Premadasa and alongside you and 2 others will be left in that row. Everyone who is speaking now has understood that this economy is developing and the country is going forward. I did not mention any names.
I
would like to tell this parliament that not a single person from our side will come to yours. Keep that in mind. 40 people from your side are sitting on your side now.
Thank you very much. ඔබතුමා මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ අභියෝගයක් බාර ගන්නවද? ඔය පැත්තෙන් එක්කෙනෙක් කරි මෙහාට આવොත් ඔය മന്ത്രി දුරෙන් ඉල්ලස්සනවා කියලා. 40ක් ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. ඔබතුමාලගේ කට්ටිය මෙහෙට ආවේ නැත්නම්.
Will you step down as the chief opposition whip if none cross over? Your dearest Hirunika said in a press conference yesterday that the votes will be divided because of the opposition leader's words. We are not saying this, but Hirunika is. This crisis is in your party. You came to Navalapitiya with Sajith. How many were there? How many were there in Gampola? How many were there in Hevahatta? You yourself are aware of the reality of the situation. When we go to the village, 200 to 300 people come and have tea with us. Now look at our friend Harsha. He sees this positively. He looks at our economy in an optimistic manner. Those are the type of people who should cross over this way.
නැඹුරුව පිළිබඳ එතුමා සුබවාදීව දකිනවා. අන්න මිනිස්සු. ඒ වගේ මිනිස්සු තමයි ඉන්න ඕනේ. ඒ වගේ මිනිස්සු තමයි මේ පැත්තට එන්න ඕනේ. ඒ වගේ මිනිස්සුන්ට තමයි මේක බාර දෙන්න ඕනේ. රටේ ජනතාව දිගටම එහෙම බූරුවට වගේ අඳන්න බෑ.
The people of the country cannot be deceived anymore. The people can witness that when their bills increase, the cabinet also increases in numbers. Threats were made at the opposition, citing defections from the SJB and other groups. No one will cross over to the government without any benefits. These threats clearly depict that an increase in cabinet numbers is imminent. As far as we know, we do not see any MP representing the Samagi Jana Balavege joining this government. Even though Ranil Wickremesinghe is leading the charge, all those behind him belong to the Rajapakshas. We know who President Ranil Wickremesinghe is. We know that Ranil Wickremesinghe, who has some understanding of the economy, is an influential figure among the Rajapakshas who do not know about the economy. Even though the members of the SLPP are deceived by him, I would like to tell you that we know everything there is to know about President Ranil Wickremesinghe. Ranil Wickremesinghe is doing the duty of ensuring that Rajapakshas come back to politics by going to the villages and strengthen their political power. Today, Ranil Wickremesinghe is protecting the Rajapaksha family because the Rajapaksha did the same to protect Ranil Wickremesinghe.
Comments were made in Parliament citing attempts being made by the government to privatize enterprises that were taken over by the state via the revival of the Underperforming Enterprises or Underutilized Assets Act passed by a majority vote on the 9th of November 2011.
Has the government reached any decision to return the Pelvatta and Sevanagala sugar factories to the former investors? If so, on what grounds was such a decision made? What is the process adopted by the government to restructure these enterprises? What economic benefits does the government expect through this?
මෙමගින් ආණ්ඩු අපේක්ෂා කරනු ලබන ආර්ථිකමය ප්‍රතිලාභය කුමක්ද? 2023 දින ඇති අමාත්‍ය මණ්ඩල.
The cabinet on the 14th of March 2023 made a decision to empower the Secretary of the Treasury to consider the handing over of enterprises which were taken over by the state under the above mentioned act to its previous investors who didn't receive any compensation when they were taken over by the state.
කයවරීමට ගරු අමාත්‍ය මණ්ඩලය විසින් ප්‍රතිමාත්මක වශයෙන් තීරණයක් ගෙන ඇත.
Serious clauses in the proposed anti-terrorism bill that is to be tabled in Parliament in the coming weeks is being widely criticised at multiple forums. Lawyers addressing two separate media briefings pointed out that the anti-terrorism bill would pave the way to proscribe any organisation at any given time. Article 82 of the bill notes that notwithstanding anything in any other written law, a prescription order may be made by the President for giving effect to a recommendation made by the Inspector General of Police. It further makes it an offence to cause serious obstruction or damage to or interference with essential services. It notes that propagating such acts can be termed as an offence of terrorism and can be penalised. Section 82 of this bill clearly states that this bill will empower the President to proscribe any organisation in the country for committing an offence under this proposed bill. There are several types of organisations in the country. What will happen when you proscribe a trade union? This will empower the President to proscribe any trade union or any student movement. Not only that, it will empower the President to even proscribe media organisations. Under Section 82 of the bill, the President will have the power to proscribe any organisation, including political parties and civil organisations, by simply calling for a report from the IGP. This President, who was rejected by the people, is now trying to gain the power to proscribe any political or civil organisation on his own accord. According to Section 83 of the bill, if a report suggests to the President that some person is suspected of being part of a terrorist act, the President can limit his or her right of movement. How did President Ranil Wickremesinghe gain power to introduce this piece of legislation which overrules and violates the constitution of the country? Where is his mandate to do so? A police DIG can now detain a suspect by issuing detention orders. They want to bring this bill to the parliament during the court vacation. People only have 7 days to bring this bill to court. Today, I can freely tell that Ranil will face the same fate faced by Gotabaya Rajapaksa. But once this bill is enacted, Ranil Wickremesinghe will gain the power to arrest me and label me as a terrorist just for saying those words. The Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, commented on the anti-terrorism bill.
However, perusing through the contents of the proposed legislation, it is more than apparent that the cure is worse than the disease. The new bill contains several offences, some of which raise serious concern for the freedom of expression, thereby giving the state an additional tool to crack down on dissent and criticism. Moreover, a major concern also arises with regard to detention orders. The bill makes no change to the provisions of the PTA, allowing the detention order to be long. For 3 months, a person can be kept inside. If there is no substance to these allegations, even if there is no substance to these allegations, detention orders can thereafter be extended beyond the initial 3 months up to 1 year. However, that must be done through a magistrate. And in any case, what is grave is that the President is authorized at his discretion to proscribe any organization that he feels is prejudicial to the national security of Sri Lanka or any other country. Therefore, he has been given tremendous authority in this matter without proper checks and balances being inserted into the Act. Therefore, it is our view that at a time when Sri Lanka is pursuing a path of rebuilding the nation, it is critical that the rule of law, the independence of the judiciary and democracy in this nation should be necessarily defended and upheld selflessly without making any legislation which in fact casts doubt on the genuine intentions of the government in the repealing of the said Prevention of Terrorism Act. All those who will vote for this law are people who will act against the interests of the public, because it is not possible for anyone to vote for this law if he or she represents people, the people of the country, who are people who cherish freedom and independence 75 years now.
Political parties expressed their views regarding this today.
There's news that this will be tabled in Parliament on the 28th of this month. We are taking the initial legal action against this. Governments can change. Today there can be one person, tomorrow there can be another. If someone believes that they are putting the best into this bill, they may not even be the president nor the prime minister of this country after 6 months. Do not bring bills like this. They always act with the selfish thought that they will always be in power. The society will face a massive disaster later on. So we clearly say, do not do this.
This anti-terrorism bill has gone beyond the bounds of the previous Prevention of Terrorism Act and has come to a point where it violates the rights of the public in this country. This act is made in such a way that protests of the trade unions, the general people and their issues cannot be voiced out. If any anti-government sentiment is discussed with or by any form of media, then it is possible for journalists and media personnel to be arrested and detained under this bill as well.
Trade unions gathered opposite the Fort railway station on Tuesday afternoon, citing several demands, including to abolish the proposed anti-terrorism bill, income tax policy, among others. The Professionals Trade Union Collective, that is made up by 47 trade unions representing government and semi-government sectors, joined the protest in Fort. Sri Lanka police reported facts to the court ahead of the protest, and the Fort magistrate issued an order preventing several people who organized the protest from entering the designated police jurisdictions from 12 noon to 4 p.m. However, trade unions gathered opposite the Fort railway station to protest but did not engage in any protest march.
When we announced that we will march to Fort, the price of LP gas was reduced by 1,000 rupees. On the other hand, the government is trying to sell the national assets. When the trade unions, fisheries movements, environmentalists, journalists and civil organizations oppose these moves, they try to crack down on us by using anti-terror laws. The government must withdraw such legislation and stop the sale of national assets. The elite have not been taxed. The leading corporates have not been taxed. The rich corporates have not paid over 1 trillion rupees in tax. Yet the government decided to slash 513 billion rupees in defaulted tax. However, the professionals are taxed to collect 100 billion rupees. We do not believe that there is anyone in the country who would justify the crackdown on trade unions and the people. We need to unite, casting aside all differences to oppose this legislation. It is no secret that a president with no mandate is dragging this country into an abyss. Do not try to suppress the people. Reduce the burden on the people and bring down inflation. The government must stop the sale of national assets. Sri Lanka Telecom is in the share market. SLT has assets all over the country. None have been subject to an audit. We would like to know who is deciding on these matters. How can the government adopt such policies?
The group protested for around an hour and then dispersed.
Employees attached to the National Water Supply and Drainage Board went on strike today to protest against the government's new income tax policy and several other issues. As a result, the functions of the regional branches of the Water Supply and Drainage Board were disrupted.
Speaking in Parliament on Tuesday, MP Premanath C. Dolawatha said the government aims to adopt necessary policies in favour of the LGBTQ community.
am speaking today on behalf of the private members bill that decriminalizes consensual same-sex marriage, same-sex sexual relations in the country. The bill was initially submitted to the Parliament in August 2022. The ruling government announced its support for the repealed section 365 and 365A of the Penal Code, and as well as the opposition leader himself agreed on this. We had to change regarding this. An amendment act in order to amend the legal provisions within the country's penal code with the aim of protecting the rights of LGBTQ communities. Same-sex relations are still criminalized under the Sri Lanka's penal code in several occasions. We aim to adopt the necessary policies in favor of LGBTQ community while continuing to strengthen its capacity to support transgender people. They request the support of the government-related institutions along with the strong assistance of foreign countries. With this bill, we hope to contribute to the long-term objective of supporting and empowering LGBTQ plus people being able to live without fear, discrimination or harassment based on their sexual orientation and gender identities or expressions. I present the Penal Code Amendment Bill to the House.
News First with the people.
The Cabinet has approved the payment of the basic salaries to government sector employees who are candidates for the local government election. The Cabinet decision says that the basic salaries due from 9th of March to the 25th of April would be paid.
There are plenty of government sector employees who are candidates for the local government election. They have not received wages for a few months now. I would like to know, if the election is delayed, whether their wages will be paid. Will there be a mechanism to solve this?
The
Cabinet has given approval to pay their basic wages due from the 9th of March to the 25th of April. They will receive this before the 10th of this month. We ask that the full salaries of these government employees due from the 9th of March to be paid. The National Election Commission had informed to pay the basic salaries. They had cited the Constitution and said that these employees cannot be in the workforce legally. If you are going to listen to what the NEC keeps telling you, then you might as well hold the election as well on the 9th of April.
Over 330,000 tourists arrival in Sri Lanka within the first 3 months of 2023.
Producing a summary report for Facebook, Sri Lanka's tourism minister said that in January 102,545 visitors entered Sri Lanka, and in February that figure rose to 107,639. However, in March the number of visitors to Sri Lanka rose to 125,495.
I had a couple of friends that recommended me to come here for yoga and spiritual retreat, and I decided to join this tour that combines a bit of nature, monuments, religion.
We're loving visiting Sri Lanka, Kandy, the monkey and the Temple of the Tooth.
Come to Sri Lanka for the culture, the monkeys, the really nice people, and to have a really nice holiday.
To tell the truth, I think Thailand and Indonesia now are very expensive. As I was thinking India or Sri Lanka, I was really the energy of Sri Lanka. I was thinking Sri Lanka. Yeah, I chose Sri Lanka because of the great energy, and now it's the prices are good as well.
Meanwhile, according to Forbes, Sri Lanka is one of the top 23 places to travel to in the entire world in 2023. Forbes said that Sri Lanka was chosen by Juliana Brossi, a 12-time Heartland Emmy Award-winning travel filmmaker and host, showcasing adventures and fun things to do around the world. Forbes said that Sri Lanka has plenty of interesting cultural attractions to explore, including the ancient cities of Anuradhapura and Kandy.
The LOLC Divi Savya program, an upliftment initiative aiming to support Sri Lanka's student population, took place today for the 14th day today. Today was the 14th day of the highly valid program.
The Divisavya program focuses on providing books and stationery items to school students from the most economically challenged regions of Sri Lanka in nearly 3,000 schools. This worthy initiative is a collaboration between the LOLC Group and the Ministry of Education. Tuesday's leg of the Divisavya program commenced from the Bandaravatta Primary School in Chilau. Students of the Dematapitiya Primary School in Kakkapalliya were also provided with school books and stationery today. Furthermore, students from Munneshwaran Primary School in Chilau were also provided with school books and stationery today under the LOLC Divisavya program. School books and stationery items were also distributed to the children of Semmandalur Primary School belonging to the Puttalam district. Students of the Karuwalagasava Kudamadavachya Primary School and Pahariya Vidyaraja Primary School also received books and stationery items under the LOLC Divisavya program today. Furthermore, stationery and books were handed over to 8 school principals in the Puttalam Regional Education Zone, which is to be distributed to their respective schools. Divisavya is taking place under 2 phases. Under Phase 1, 1,419 schools with less than 50 students are provided with school books and stationery, while under Phase 2, 1,552 schools with students numbering 50 to 100 will be given school books and stationery.
For years, the students of the Galpotte Gama School in Gal Kadawala, Anuradhapura received education amidst a plethora of issues. Today, Gammadha took the initiative to address several of those issues.
The Galpotte Gama School in Gal Kadawala, Anuradhapura is located in one of the most remote areas in the North Central province. The students who visit the school daily for studies are talented in many ways. Gammadha stepped in to meet the basic requirements of these students with the contributions made by Mr. and Mrs. Shriyantha Senaratna. On the 9th of June 2022, a fence was set up around the school in a bid to protect the premises and the children from wild animals, and a playground was also prepared for their use. It was during that moment that a promise was made to renovate the dilapidated building that housed the school's computer laboratory. On Tuesday, Gammadha kept that promise. The Senaratna family joined with Gammadha to provide this school with an IT laboratory and sanitation facilities. Mr. and Mrs. Shriyantha Senaratna, the Anuradhapura Zonal Director of Education, Mahisha Manjarika Hethyarachi, the Principal of the Galpotte Gama Vidyalaya JMR Kumara, alongside the Director General Manager of Newsfirst, Yasarat Kamasuri, and the National Organizer of Gammadha, Kenneth Virakudi, were present for the occasion.
Dear children, keep in mind that kings who ruled over our land came from humble beginnings and successfully faced the challenges that came before them. No matter how small our school may be, we need to make maximum use of what we have to become figures that are influential at home and across the world.
Project sponsor Shriyantha Senaratna commented on Gammadha at the event.
The Gammadha team is here, and I am thankful to them for returning here to support this program. This is not an easy task, but they completed it. Gammadha has always completed their projects successfully. We salute Gammadha for its service and appreciate their efforts.
Director General Manager of Newsfirst, Yasarat Kamasuri, spoke on the Gammadha aspirations.
The solution to the issues that we face can be found through education. When we visit villages, we observe that children are distancing themselves from education. The reason is due to a lack of facilities and the struggle to survive. However, we must be able to ensure that they are brought back to the net of education and provide them with proper education. When that happens, we will be able to move to a greater place in the world. This is the only aspiration of Gammadha. We cannot do this alone. We receive the support of thousands like Shriyantha Senaratna who are committed to help us achieve these goals.
Children are the future of the country. Isn't it our collective responsibility to create a world for children to learn, free of worry? Gammadda will persevere for the children of tomorrow to carry on.
According to India's Ministry of Personnel, Public Grievances and Pensions, Sri Lanka's President Ranil Wickremesinghe sought India's help in establishing policy reforms, governance, capacity buildings, digitalization and public service delivery.
An Indian delegation led by the Director General of the National Centre for Good Governance, Bharat Lal, met Sri Lanka's President on Saturday in Sri Lanka and discussed topics like policy reforms, good governance, digitalization, capacity building and training, institution building and assured public service delivery. The President had admired the way India has managed socio-economic development and has ensured high economic growth. In the meeting, President Wickremesinghe shared his vision for Sri Lanka, a strategy to address the recent economic challenges and put the country on the path of high economic growth. He also urged the NCGG to help in establishing a University of Governance and Public Policy in Sri Lanka. The President's media division recently said that Bharat Lal visited Sri Lanka to discuss potential ways to enhance the country's civil service and improve government institution performance by implementing effective monitoring measures. During the meeting, Lal shared India's success in incorporating information technology into public service delivery, which resulted in significant progress and cost savings.
Donald Trump will officially become the first former president to face criminal charges when he is arraigned in a New York courtroom in a few hours, an appearance that is expected to be quick and routine but represents a surreal and historic moment in US history.
All eyes are on New York City as the historic arraignment of former US President Donald Trump is just hours away. Donald Trump's supporters have started to arrive outside the courthouse ahead of a planned rally for the former president. An email went out to Donald Trump's mailing list with the subject, quote, "My last email before my arrest," unquote, in which he asks people to chip in to save America and includes a fundraising link. He also expresses concern that the US is becoming a, quote, "Marxist third world country," unquote. Trump is set to arrive at the courthouse in downtown Manhattan Tuesday afternoon, where his arrest will be processed by the district attorney's office and he will be brought to the courtroom to hear the charges against him.
And this brings us to the end of Primetime News here on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Razi Irfan. Good night and take care.